Hello, hello. Welcome to today's session, Crypto Report, July 26, 2024. My name is Hamilton here at the Trading Initiative and joined by our co host, Josh. What's up, Josh?
Good morning. How's it going?
Not bad. I'm back in the United States. Glad to be back. Mixed feelings, but the weather's great. Let's talk shop. Last time we were talking crypto was, I believe, 2 weeks ago. July 11th, I believe it was actually. I might be wrong on that. I think it was, though. And we had an interesting conversation about whether or not BTC and some of the other major coins had found a short-term bottom, and could we have potentially suckered in some bears and for a squeeze up towards the highs. We talked about Solana, we talked about Binance Coin, we talked about Ethereum and Bitcoin, and it does look like, at least in the short term, we were right 2 weeks ago for an intermediate kind of low there, almost bottom ticking the Solana trade. Actually, we're going to look through that in a second. But just give me your feelings over the last week or two. If you could give our audience kind of a quick rundown, what's the environment right now? Have things shifted over the last 2 weeks? What can we reasonably expect, etc.?
Yeah, of course. So over the last 2 weeks, I feel like I've gained a couple more gray hairs at the pace of crypto moves. But yeah, after we had our last call, essentially the entire market had bottomed at that point, and we ripped for several days straight back into the mid 60K range. So now we're sitting just above 66, I think 67, and we tapped 68 this morning. Um, Largely due to what most people consider the ETF, the Ethereum ETF kind of approval and upcoming launch, and the narrative of taking the same trade as Bitcoin in the last 2 weeks. Obviously, we actually had that launch of those ETF products this past Tuesday. So Ethereum now has publicly traded spot ETFs, which is very exciting, but also a lot of sell pressure. I wrote a blog about it this week, but Grayscale is still out here selling Ethereum, and obviously with seasonality and the worst day in Nasdaq history, since 2022, in the Nasdaq this week, the market's been pretty volatile. You're seeing swings, 2 to 20% in altcoins, and even Bitcoin ranging from 67 down to 63K, and the emotions across crypto Twitter and active traders
Let's
has been
talk
pretty
about that
wild
really quick. I
going
don't mean
on.
to interrupt you, but I think you just brought something up that's super impressive on the BTC front in particular. So I don't think it's, by any stretch of the imagination, we can assume that Bitcoin is essentially a leveraged NASDAQ trade. Very high correlation, and obviously the ADR, the volatility on Bitcoin, is going to be 2 or 3 times as much as just trading the Qs, for example. And so when you said that the Nasdaq had the worst drawdown since I believe it was October, December of 2022, which you're right, a 3% drawdown there. I think going back to the near the end of the bear market was the last time we saw, a volatile move like that in the Qs. Bitcoin didn't make the same type of move. It did obviously draw down slightly, but you would have expected off of a 3% pullback in the Qs, given this high correlation, like a 7, 8, 9, potentially even 10% move to the downside, right? And it didn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I think during U.S. market hours, we drew down less than 1%. I mean, all coins were green on the day. I mean, everyone was pretty surprised as to what was going on. But yeah, I mean, after market close, we did see a bit more of an extended drawdown down to 63, 64 range. So, call that 2.5%. But relative to the performance of, you know, U.S. equities and the NASDAQ, Bitcoin held up great. And I think that's one thing that kind of made some of us in TTI, and maybe I'm speaking for people, it's just myself, a little more bullish in terms of this isn't the end. This is just a very painful pullback, reset those levered longs, and keep this market going.
I mean, the key word here, I think you hit the nail on the head, is there's relative strength there in Bitcoin against the TradFi market, against the equity market. And where you would normally see an extended drawdown on a single daily candlestick in Bitcoin off of a NASDAQ move that aggressive, we saw a more gradual drawdown actually in Bitcoin. And like you said, I think maximum it only drew down 3 or 4% from like local peak high to local peak trough. So not at all being really impacted by that big sell off in the Qs. A lot of relative strength there. I don't think it's any stretch of the imagination to say that, at least inside of TTI, we're fully expecting Bitcoin to break out into all-time highs and sooner rather than later. You I think alluded to what a lot of people are feeling, that it's a painful kind of, I don't want to say pullback. You said pullback, which technically you're right, but I'm going to say it's more of like a correction through time than anything. with the way that Bitcoin is just moving sideways, I think there's a lot of people that are expecting BTC to drop down in some sort of distributive type of downtrend after this. You could make the argument here that people are offloading Bitcoin up here and using liquidity to sell it. Realistically, I think that it's the other way. I think that there's an institutional bid there, and I think it, at least from my standpoint, it feels more like an accumulation area in an ongoing uptrend than a distribution into a potential markdown. And what we just saw earlier this week with the relative strength and Bitcoin not breaking down off of a huge Nasdaq candle to the downside gives me more conviction that there is somebody there taking the bid, not allowing this to break down, and I think that it's just a matter of time before we see up 72K and plus.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, if the market, if the U.S. market, equities market, was concerned about that breakdown in Nasdaq last Friday, we saw over $1 billion in inflows just in the Bitcoin ETFs. The ETH ETF hadn't even launched yet. We're not talking about alts. We're not talking about on chain. Wall Street bought $523 million Bitcoin last Friday. If we're thinking the market's topped, that's not something you're going to see Wall
Yeah,
Street doing.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I agree with you. Is that I think folks on CT are selling their coins to the bankers and are going to have to buy back a little bit higher in a very
What's
short
funny
time
is
frame.
it's not just crypto. I mean, this is just how markets work. Markets move in mysterious ways. But realistically, if you're just watching trends and you kind of have a general understanding of price action, we're not going to nail it 100% of the time, but you have a general idea of whether or not something is accumulative or distributive, and it doesn't feel like a distributive. And I think you're absolutely right. Crypto or TradFi or anything, most people are going to make the wrong decision and they're going to end up buying higher. That's how uptrends work, right? You sell when you think the top is, and lo and behold, it's not the top, and you chase to the upside. And that's honestly the hardest trade to take, is chasing to the upside, because then it feels like every time there's one down day, you bought the top and you're an idiot and you stop out, and obviously we know how that goes because 2 days later it's back up at all-time highs. And so I would look at Bitcoin as final words for me, and then I want to hear your thoughts on this. But this looks like a massive accumulation base at the top of an uptrend, which means there's going to be an extended rally to the upside. My conservative price target on Bitcoin remains 100K, but I would not be surprised to see above 100K by the end of this cycle. And I think that once we get up and over the 70 to 72K range, I think it's going to be full steam ahead. Very difficult to get long without taking more risk than just simply having a bid on the book right now and waiting. I think it's going to be very challenging to trade this once it takes off, because it's going to take off, and it's going to take off fast.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And if you're looking at even the run since November of 2022, you have some days where it puts in big green candles. Like, I don't know about you, but I don't want to bid those, because what if that was just a parabolic pump, and now we're gonna retrace a bit. So I think it's gonna be really hard to chase. And to be fair, when we broke down out of that 60K range, my recommendation was, if we close on the weekly below that 60K level, like that might be lights out, and you should consider selling and then re-enter if you regain the 60K. I'm not sure how many folks took that advice and then also followed up with re-entering at that 61K level, which happened to also be the 200-day moving average. But yeah, at this point, you have to figure out what area or what price you want to pay for Bitcoin, and then put some bids at, so that you don't miss that
Yeah,
potential big run up coming in the near future.
100% agree. Let's shift our focus really quick to Ethereum. So go ahead and just like for a 25-second spiel, tell us what's going on with the Ethereum ETF, and then obviously this is going to be your opinion. So none of this is financial advice, guys. But what I will ask you is it bullish or bearish for Ethereum in general now that we have a financial institutional trading vehicle?
I'll start with that. So, as people may or may not know, Ethereum's ETF officially launched with 8 different products available to the U.S. equities market. Um, I am overly bullish on the availability of spot ETFs. Yesterday, so currently the Bitcoin conference is going on in Tennessee, and a representative from BlackRock was at the conference on a panel and asked, when is the Sol ETF, or when is the Doge ETF? And he said very plainly, BlackRock has no interest in any other ETFs. He doesn't believe there's going to be a long list of crypto ETFs. He said you have to look at market cap. Ethereum is the second biggest and has a market cap 19% relative to others. The next closest, which I think is Solana, is at 3%. He said there's not the
Yep.
maturity, there's not the history, there's not the liquidity volume. And so, I'm very bullish on this. Price action currently is taking a nosedive. We saw a little bump at that 200-day moving average. But almost identically in line to the exact same price action as Bitcoin. I've joked about it in my weekly newsletters for weeks at this point that Wall Street's literally going to let us rerun the same playbook back. Sell off from grayscale, accumulation and inflows continue from the market makers. You have Larry Fink on CNBC literally shilling your bag saying, Bitcoin is digital gold and Ethereum is essentially digital oil. It's an app store for decentralization.
It's a great way to
And
put it.
so,
It's a great way to put it. And I think that you just brought up another key point is that Ethereum and Bitcoin are probably going to trade uh, very closely together. They're correlated assets, even though they do two completely different things in the market. They serve two different functions. It's still one and the same type of idea. You're taking a crypto trade, and since Ethereum is number 2 in market cap, and Bitcoin's number 1, they're going to tend to move in the right direction, or in the same direction rather, not the right direction. And Ethereum, like you said, is trading relatively similar to Bitcoin. But I will say that Ethereum is more volatile, right? So if you're going to be
of
trading
course,
Ethereum, due to the lower market cap and everything else, it's just going to be a more volatile asset to trade. So if you are going to trade that, you need to give yourself maybe some wider stops, or maybe just building the expectation of the trade of if Bitcoin drops 3%, Ethereum is probably going to drop 5 or 6%, and that's part of the game.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, just looking at the chart now, like if we can hold this level, we've just put in a higher low, and I'm a big Ethereum bull. I understand the argument for Solana. I like Solana too. I think being a maxi is dumb, but you know, Wall Street has dubbed these two assets as the assets of crypto. I think it would be a mistake to go against the billions of dollars
I
that are
mean, yeah,
flowing in the market.
so many people, it's so many people have like opinions and stuff based off of, I mean, everything nowadays. Everybody has a goddamn opinion on something, but particularly in crypto, like you said, you turn into some sort of maxi if you're trading these guys, and if you're obviously listening to this, webinar, podcast, discussion, whatever. You're here because you want to make money trading these trading vehicles, not necessarily, become like a spokesperson for these particular crypto coins or whatever. So Ethereum, from a trading vehicle standpoint, is going to trade about 2x beta at BTC. And if you're going to trade Ethereum, you just have to have that expectation that the volatility is going to be a lot higher and the swings are going to be a lot wider. So if you have that, it's totally okay, right? There's no problem. And to the next point, if you come into trading these with a bias on the actual asset itself, for example, Ethereum, you don't like it because you don't like the founder, you don't like it because of whatever, well, that's great. But from a trading vehicle standpoint, they're awesome. And we want to be on the same side for the most part of those institutional flows. Like retail does not move market price, guys. I don't know how many times anybody has to say this, but like a guy with a couple $1 million might be able to pump a scam coin, but they're not pumping $1 trillion asset with a couple million. Like they're not, pumping Bitcoin. They're not going to go out. It's just the same thing with TradFi. So TradFi, we're going out, and one of the key parts of our system within TTI is first step is let's figure out where the strength is in the market, and let's verify that there's fund flows coming in there, because we know that the commercial side of trading is what moves price. It's not retail. Same thing with Bitcoin and Ethereum. If Wall Street and the commercials are buying this stuff, it would be very, very foolish to not also kind of be on the same side.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I think being a maxi is silly, and even if you're just someone who's holding the asset because you think it has a bright future, whether that's trading it through swing trading or just buying it on chain or buying it through one of the ETFs, you can buy other assets. you don't. You can buy Solana, and no one's gonna yell at you. You can buy Bitcoin. Like you can buy all these assets. You don't have to religiously say that
Yep, I agree.
Ethereum's the worst, Solana's the best, it's the future. Like,
Let's
why
talk
wouldn't you
about
have
that now.
exposure to both?
Let's talk about
Yeah,
Solana.
absolutely.
I'm gonna move over to Solana really quick. I got the chart up, so feel free. Let's talk about this. So I kind of alluded to Solana right when we started this conversation, but Solana was a big talking point 2 weeks ago when we recorded our last episode of this, and we had a trade idea down here at like the 120, 125 area, and we said, listen, if it breaks down below this base, this proprietary gray box here, if it breaks down below, we're out. But if it doesn't break down below and we shoot back up towards that 200 to 205 area, there's a very high risk to reward. I think we set the trade up, and it was something like a 7-to-1 setup or something like that. I'm going to kind of throw it on here arbitrarily, so don't. If anybody's watching this and there, that's not perfect. It's a general idea. And so for this instance, for example, 9, that ended up working, right? That ended up being the bottom there. And so the question remains, was that the bottom of this consolidation fractal? Are we expecting this to be the next range high breakout? How would you play this if you were able to grab it at the 120, 125 area? And then lastly, do we expect Solana to be at all-time highs if Bitcoin and Ethereum are breaking out to all-time highs.
Absolutely. I mean, I think we don't really talk fundamentals, but obviously what I just said about BlackRock coming out and saying the Sol ETF essentially isn't happening, which is something that I know Solana bulls, as we call them, have really been pushing for. But yeah, I don't see why we wouldn't break out if Bitcoin's going to break out to new all-time highs. I think Solana is one of the strongest not like non-Ethereum BTC altcoins in the market. It's one of very few that actually looks like it's going to make a new all-time high compared to its previous cycles, being around for a cycle already. And so, yeah, I don't see why we don't break to an all-time high. We might get an initial rejection at that 200, 205 level and kind of potentially come back and retest that 175 area before moving higher. But I do genuinely think that Solana is going to make new all-time highs and continue to do some face melting.
So look at this really quick. I don't know if you're looking at my screen here with the charts, but I think something that's super undervalued from a trading standpoint is just how correlated these assets are. And they don't have to move one to one, but if you superimpose, and right now I just have two charts, Bitcoin on the bottom and Solana on the top here, tell me that this fractal, and these are lined up relatively close time wise, tell me these fractals don't look almost the exact same. And if I were to take Ethereum and place it down below, you would have the same consolidation fractal over the same time period. And what I don't think enough traders understand, because for one, like you said, you turn into a maxi and you're all about that particular coin, all of them move in relation to one coin, Bitcoin. Don't care if you're a Solana bull and that's your thing. Don't care if you're an Ethereum bull and that's your thing. Papa Bitcoin is what moves the crypto market. And so if you're, bullish Solana or you're bullish Ethereum, you might have some slight divergences where maybe Solana takes off first or maybe Solana outperforms, which it should. It's a highly volatile asset. It's a 7.09 ADR and Bitcoin is nowhere close to that. By the way, Ethereum was like 3 or 4%. So Solana could be argued as, even a more levered Bitcoin play. But it's not out of the realm of ordinary here to see Solana and Ethereum both move with Bitcoin. A lot of that has to do with market cap, like you said. You said Solana is like number 3 in market cap, I believe.
Top five, yeah.
Yeah, top 5. And so, yeah, by no means do I think that these things are going to decouple. And I do think that if Bitcoin breaks out into all-time highs, 72K and up, I do think Solana, I don't know, Solana will be at all-time highs when Bitcoin is, but Solana should be above 205. Right, this little cycle high here, if we want to call it a little mini cycle, we tapped at 205, 206. Bitcoin tapped at like 71. I think if Bitcoin's at 72 or higher, Solana's going to be at 210 or higher, and then at some point we're probably going to see 260 in Solana. I don't think is that crazy? I don't think so.
No, I think that makes total sense. I mean, even looking at the if you want to pull up Sol ETH, and we can talk ETH BTC after, Sol ETH looks strong. I mean, I get why some people say Solana is the future because it's just outperforming Ethereum so heavily, and even with the launch of the CTF, while we have a little bit of down movement, but like
this is great.
Sol ETH,
this is incredible.
Sol ETH is about to make an all-time high, and so the argument is there that Sol will likely continue to outperform until ETH, if we're comparing L1s, decides to turn it around. We can look at ETH BTC next, which looks atrocious. I'll be honest, it looks terrible.
I want if you're a technical trader, one of the easiest things that you can do and add to your repertoire is buy the smiley face and sell the frowny face. What does that mean? It literally means when you have these massive bases with these gigantic, rounded bottoms, and this is just a massive base going back to the end of 2021. This is something that, overwhelmingly amount of time you're going to buy at the all-time high and it's going to shoot up. Now, there's no expectation for performance based off of, like, in this instance, well, in the TradFi market, this would be referred to as a ratio chart. It's not a ratio chart because you can legitimately trade Solana against Ether. But in this instance, you have to assume, like, let's say you're bullish both Ethereum and Solana, all right? Just blank statement, bullish both. You'd have this chart right here. Josh, what is the better trading vehicle?
Solana right now.
Solana is outperforming Ethereum. And what I think most people don't understand, like we talk through this in TTI all the time, we're really, really big on relative strength. And what people don't understand in my mind is, there's going to be 2 trades that you can take. Both of them go up. But if one of them substantially outperforms the other, what was the right decision? Hindsight's 2020, so you can obviously go back and see it. But with crypto, we can legitimately make that decision in real time. It's not hindsight. We see Solana outperforming. Both Solana and Ethereum can both pump. right? Can both go up. But if Solana goes up more than Ethereum, which this chart is kind of hinting at it, you should be taking the Solana trade over Ethereum. I'm not crazy, right? I mean, this is just trading 101.
Absolutely, 100%. I mean, if you flip to ETH BTC, you can enshrine that idea even stronger. That hypothetically, right now, BTC is the better vehicle than Ethereum until there's a reversal.
100%. I mean, it looks like we were arguing about this at the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, that we should probably be long Bitcoin over Ethereum, and it looks like that played out. We're talking about this overhead resistance here, and it continues. Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about buy the smiley face and sell the frowny face. This is a classic example of a big rounded top, and until this thing starts to find some sort of floor and reversal, there was a lot of talking. I'm thinking about the flippening from a way back in like 2018, talking about Ethereum flipping Bitcoin in that big conversation. No, nowhere close. I mean, this thing has gotten nowhere friggin' close to flipping anything. See, back here in 2017, 2018, there was a legitimate conversation about was Ethereum going to eventually flip Bitcoin. Now, they're absolutely not. Right? And until this ratio stops going down, the better trade is what? Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a better trade.
Essentially anything other than Ethereum at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. So, by the way, we're not sitting here saying don't buy Ethereum. We're not saying don't trade it. It will probably go up with everything else. Things tend to move in tandem. What we are saying, though, is when you think about it from a opportunity cost standpoint, you can clearly see that there's greater strength in other names, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, last one I want to talk through for the big ones, and then I want you to give me your opinion on just one or two trades, is just Binance. So Binance is obviously a market leader in terms of market cap. It's liquid. Now, I'm assuming that we have the same type of expectation that when or if BTC takes off, Binance is also going to take off. We had a little bit of an oopsie moment here back in June where we saw BNB take off and then got rejected hard back in, and now it's still stuck within this range that it's been in, that basically all of the major crypto coins have been in this consolidation range. What do we expect here with BNB? Is there any sort of decoupling going on, or is it still correlated to Bitcoin? What's the general thoughts here?
I think a lot of these coins can have their own mini bull run, so they can outperform irrespective of Bitcoin's price. Look at BNB here. We can talk about Ton, ENS. A bunch of different coins in short time frames can kind of ignore the broader market and do their own thing. I think BNB did that, and now it's kind of playing catch up for the rest of the market. I still like it. I currently have an order on the books, and I think above 600, this is still something I want to go long. Again, Binance Coin is now officially one of the, I think, 12 coins that have made an all-time high or an all-time high from their previous cycle highs.
Yep.
Yep. We have 15,000 coins. Obviously not that many since last cycle, but let's call it 3,000 plus coins from last cycle. 12 have made new all-time highs, right? So you need to make sure that you're charting those 12 and charting coins that have that kind of relative strength, because clearly something's going on and you should be a part of that trade. It makes sense. It makes sense to be in there. Yeah.
So I was long the BNB pop above 670. I got stopped out for a loss. I'm not afraid because I'm going to take it again. I mean, this is the type of price action you want to see. I'm not going to lay. You said you have a order on the books for when it gets up and over 600. Totally understand that. You're like buying the middle of the range here, but obviously it's going to be moving up. So if you do catch that, you're going to have a head start from everybody else buying the 670. But I have absolutely no problem buying the 670 breakout again. I think that, like you said, the underlying idea is it was very bullish, that it was one of the few names that rebroke out into all-time highs over its previous cycle high. And to me, this is just this is what trading's all about. I mean, that's just a nasty whipsaw type of price action. And although I did get stopped out for a loss on the 670 area breakout, I did not hold it all the way down to the 200-day moving average, sub $500. Like, there's no chance. So from a technical standpoint, it really, I can't say this trade's easy, but for anybody listening to this, it's very simple. Above 670, you go long, and you put a stop somewhere underneath 670, maybe 650, 640. You stop out if you're back within the range. You don't want to hold it while it's ranging like this, which is what I did. But the opportunity cost of missing the 670 breakout and watching it run to 950 is huge. So I'm going to be, same game plan for me. Above 670, I want to own it. I'm going to have goldfish brain, memory brain about the last trade that I took. I'm not going to let it shake me out, because I know that when this stuff runs, it runs very, very hard. And we were talking about volatility. BNB is a more volatile asset than Bitcoin. So what do you expect?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It just makes sense.
So give me one kind of altcoin, one trade that you're looking at, and we'll kind of chart through it. I know that there was a bunch of them last time, but we're already on we've talked for almost 30 minutes already. It goes so fast. It's fun talking about this stuff. Give me one chart you want to look through.
So one thing I'm looking at right now is, and I'm not sure it's available on Coinbase to be honest, but and you're going to know it instantly, is TRX Tron. It has quietly
USD or
continued
Bitcoin?
USD.
Let's do it.
Um, continued to grind up, and we're now reaching that point where it's going to break into fresh multi-year highs and potentially make a run at its all-time high. So similar to the conversation we just had about Binance Coin, um, TRX, whether you like Justin Sun's coin or not, appears like it's going to be following the same trajectory of BNB, and so that's something that I'm looking to get exposure to and looking to see how I can put some trades in the book, and I think it's worthwhile for others just to look at the chart and figure out if it makes sense, or if they have access to trade in that instrument.
Listen, this is a little rounded bottom with an overhead supply zone at like 14 cents or something like that. You go long above 14 cents, I think makes sense. If you want to make the argument that there's maybe a little handle off to the right and it makes you feel better to say you're owning a cup and handle breakout instead of just a rounded bottom horizontal level, do whatever you need to do. But yeah, clearly above 14 pennies, you're probably going to want to own Tron. This is a strong uptrend. It's less volatile than I remember at 3.23. Tron used to really move a lot. Feels like it's kind of slowed down a little bit here. But having said that, the TA is there, right? The technical setup is there above 14. You're targeting the 17.5, 18 range. Then above 18 pennies, you're into all-time highs. So why would you want to sell an asset breaking out into all-time highs? I wouldn't. So this gives you a reasonable entry in a coin that is clearly on the trajectory. Not saying it will get there, but clearly on the trajectory that it wants to hit all-time highs. Yeah, I 100% agree. So my trade would be above 14 cents. I'm looking to put Tron on. What about you?
Yeah, exactly. Probably like 14.4 to play it safe, because I know something we've been talking about in the development side of TTI recently is that with the volatility of Bitcoin and Ethereum, a lot of these altcoins will have a big breakout and then retest that level and really just murder a lot of levered longs. So I think it makes sense, if you have to, wait for that retest of that kind of 14.4 area. Otherwise, wait for confirmation that the breakout's actually occurring. Wait for the daily candle to actually close. A lot of folks have been front running a lot of trades, myself included, and getting stopped out as a result with a false breakout or just a reset back into
Part of
the
doing
range.
business is what makes this exciting and fun, particularly in the crypto space where you get like low liquidity wicks all of the time. And so if you have like orders on the books to stop out, you'll wake up with a disappointing, stop out and the price is right back where it was. And you're just like, damn it.
Absolutely.
All right, guys. Josh, I appreciate you. Thanks so much for hanging out with us. This wraps up our crypto report for Friday, July 26th. I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this. If you're inside of TTI and you have any questions for Josh or myself, feel free to leave them below on the market research side. And if you're not inside of TTI, feel free to check us out. Links are in the description below. We talk about markets all day, every day. It's a lot of fun. Hopefully we make a couple bucks as well, but it's fun either way. Josh, enjoy your weekend. Thanks again for hopping on.
Thank you. My pleasure. Good luck in the markets.
Yeah. Good luck. Go enjoy summer, guys. Go enjoy summer.